On October the 28th, we have a unique fight. Some will say a unique occasion. I'm talking about boxing versus MMA. We have the current heavyweight champion of the world, Tyson Fury, and they say former, the champion who never lost his belt in the UFC, Francis Ngannou. What better way to discuss this fight than discussing it with a boxing guy and an MMA guy? Colin.
I try. This is one of these unique times where actually me and you get to have a chat about fights, but just come at it from a completely different angle. And, you know, I think it's fair to say we both respect each other's sports, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to draw a hard line here. So I'm going to disrespect everything I can whenever I can, okay? Just so that we can have a bit of fun with it too.
Yeah, well, for those who don't know, Ryan, Colin, thought out insights. Please like, share, and subscribe the video. And where do we start?
I think the best place to start is, what does this mean? Because we can get into the ins and outs of it, so we can get into that. But really, this is the biggest crossover. So we've had a odd boxer or two go over to MMA, even try out a bit of kickboxing. Yeah. And we've had more recently
some retired MMA fighters fighting a so-called boxer.
Yeah, exactly. So, but these are two people that arguably are still in their primes. They're still the top of their game, and you know, Ngannou's leaving one of the biggest mixed martial arts promotions to do this. This was his goal when he was trying to get out of the UFC. So they're meeting at their physical prime. So this event is either massive, or it's a bit of a spectacle.
Yeah, and that's the problem we have right now. Whereas if you're looking at it historically, this is unheard of. The two best combat sport athletes in the world, as Colin said, in their prime. And when you look at crossover sports in boxing, before MMA came along, it was never very good. We had Inoki versus Ali. We had Lyle Alzado versus Ali, who was the American steroid football player.
Yeah.
Remember him?
You're going to bring up James Toney, aren't
you? Yeah. I actually mentioned James Toney of the weekend. But again, the point I'm making is that it's never really worked well because it's always been done at the benefit of one organization and the detriment of the other organization. You will never take any of those fights legitimate. And I don't want to mention this guy's name because I kind of touched on it. It's staying with this Jake Paul situation, who I do not count him as a boxer of any sort of shape or form. But he's kind of made a name fighting retired MMA fighters, which is a discredit to boxing and a discredit to MMA because...
Definitely.
You get my point? And this is not just... And, you know, I could easily say, well, it proves no, it doesn't, because these guys are not boxers. They're retired and they don't even have a striking skill set.
Ben Askren, like his first fight.
You get my point?
He wasn't even known for knocking people out when he had them on the ground against the canvas. You know, hands were not his thing.
No. The difference with Ngannou is that he's primarily a striker. A very, very strong, powerful striker. I would like to say 90% of his fights have ended on the feet with him knocking someone out. It's very rarely he puts you down and pounds you out or chokes you out. That's not his forte. His forte is hurting people with the fist.
Yeah, I think he has got sub on his record in his early career, strangely enough. But yeah, and his first love was boxing. He got into MMA because he went to a boxing gym and he needed to make money. Yeah. And they said the quickest turnaround for him was actually to go into MMA. So he's still rooted in that skill set, but that doesn't mean he's a polished boxer.
Yeah. You know, I understand, that's how I understand. There is so many elements to why people like and dislike this fight. It's too many to point out. The obvious ones is that it's a disgrace for Fury to be fighting this guy. On the other side, it's like, wow, it's a great win for Ngannou, who's come out of a disgruntled contract to actually get what he's been asking for, a legit boxing fight. What I think was lost in the middle of all of it is that it's actually a fight. And when I say it's a fight, I'm not talking about a boxing match. I'm not talking about MMA match. You've got two guys, fighters, elite fighters, think they could beat anyone.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, you won't find an elite fighter that thinks he can't fight. So as much as you say it's disrespectful to either sport in any way you think, you've got two guys that actually want to go trade it up. And I think that makes it a bit more compelling in terms of what we're looking to see.
Yeah. So there's when they step in there, the fighting element's going to switch on.
Yeah.
Right. These guys are not gonna. This is an exhibition fight, right?
They're saying it's grey. They're saying it's a real fight with real rules, the real rules and real fights. But then I'm hearing that it's not being recognised on anyone's boxing record, which means it's an exhibition.
Yeah. And there's a made-up belt.
Yeah, and made-up belt. The WBC and their made-up belts. Yeah, belts you can wipe you when you go to the toilet. Yeah.
Bit like a BMF belt, but no.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, then. So we know the parameters. Mm-hmm. We know why this fight is taking in this place. Is this fight worthy to be called a fight legitimately? And the reason why I say that is that you got a guy that's considered the best heavyweight in the world. A big guy, 6'9", 270, 80 pounds.
Yeah.
He's a big man that moves fast, knows how to box, and he's been fighting all his life. And you got Ngannou, who in his own right is a fighter, but does not have that type of skill set. It's a large bridge to carry.
Yeah.
And when I say that, if Ngannou was fighting Usyk, who's a smaller man at 6'2", 6'3", 220, mm-hmm. Yes, it's the same scenario where people say Usyk will outbox him, but the physical element is not involved. And I think the physical element is where Ngannou is banking on.
Yeah, so we've got a bit of a gap with our Ngannou knowledge because no one's seen him for a period of time fighting or striking. So we don't know what his hands are gonna look like. He can be, especially in a cage, very, very reckless. Yeah. Like he's been known just to rush forward, use his power. The question is, has his skills got to, say, a Deontay Wilder level that if he can land that one shot, will Fury go down? Because in terms of big power punches, I'm going to say that I think Ngannou probably hits harder than Wilder. He's got probably 50 pounds on him.
Yeah. I will disagree on that for a simple reason is that neither of them are technically astute. Mm-hmm. But when you see Ngannou winning shots, he's coming very explosive, very fast across the ring. With that weight, with that size, as you mentioned. But I don't know if it's punch for punch. What he hit Alistair Overeem with was the best example of his power. It was mostly his cleanest knockout in terms of standing and posturing up. The other times you've seen him knocking people out, especially like the Rosenstruck fight, it's a bit what I'm trying to say. And I'm not saying that, not discrediting him, but if anyone wings like that who's 300 pounds, you're going to be in serious problems. And it's when you actually try to plant your feet, set up a shot with a jab or a right hand, and then try to land that power shot. Does the power transcend through the technical ability, not through the raw brute strength?
I'm going to say, I think we're going to be shocked how hard he's going to hit.
Yeah.
Right? So he's a big dude. The other thing is, he's obviously training with Mike Tyson. Yeah. Whose style will contract Ngannou. So Ngannou's power coming from this wide, swinging, he's going to, by using that,
him up.
He's going to make him a small, big man.
Yeah.
And his leg strength, because he has been wrestling as well, so he's going to be able to use that explosive movement. And he's got fairly quick feet, but we haven't seen him use sort of elegant footwork. And maybe that's where that peekaboo style suits him, because he's going to use his weight to shift and then get on the inside. Now, if he can get on the inside, are those short hooks, those shovel hooks, those uppercuts, like he caught Alistair Overeem.
Yeah.
There is a potential that if he clips that chin, he's going down.
Like the Undertaker, Fury's proving he gets up, and that is.
Was that a 9 count? Was that? Yeah, 9,
No,
10,
no,
maybe 12 count?
no, it wasn't a long count. It wasn't a long count. So, here's my thing about it. I'm pretty confident that we all believe and know that Ngannou can't box with Fury.
Nah, no chance.
He has to fight him.
Yep.
So he has to bum rush him, get close, and land hard clubbing blows to make it work. I tend to say Fury's seen that before.
Okay.
Yeah, tend to say he's seen that before. And as much as I'm compelled to watch the fight and see it, what Ngannou does with his hands through MMA is not at the level of a world-class boxer.
So,
And that's the concern. Whereas, yes, he's big. Yes, he's tough. He's got a good chin. He can punch. He's got all these attributes. But it's not stitched together the way a boxer puts it together.
yeah, so like I said, we've got a bit of a gap in our knowledge because no one's seen him out there. There isn't tons of footage of him, sparring and stuff like that. It's fairly closed camp. But you're right, a boxer is, in essence, it's a steak knife, right?
Yeah.
So it's a sharp knife that you use. And an MMA fighter is a bit like a Swiss Army knife. So it's got all these other bits and pieces, yeah. So if you're going into a knife fight, you don't take a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
Right? But if you're going out into the wilderness, a steak knife ain't going to serve you very well.
Yeah.
So it's different tools for different jobs. Yeah. And there are a few aspects that change. So boxing changes range straight away. We've also got a different fighting area. So in the octagon, we've got lots of little angles. In a boxing ring, we've got really tight angles. And Ngannou will or has been able to corral fighters across a big space, trap them in an area and hit them really, really hard.
Yeah.
And using that explosiveness. Now, can he find a corner and trap someone like Fury? Now, Fury's footwork is undeniable. But Ngannou's incredibly quick as well. And I don't mean just hand speed, I mean his ability to close distance. If he's brave enough to close that range and can trap him, there is a potential for him to land on him.
So, I agree. I mentioned this on Sunday on This Week in Boxing, that no matter if you like boxing or if you don't like boxing, if you like MMA, if you don't like MMA, there's one thing that you have to understand. A fight is a fight. Anytime two people get in the ring to fight, two people are going to get hit. It is very, very rare you see a single shot knockout with the first punch.
Yeah, by definition, that's not a fight.
Yeah, there you get my point. You're going to get hit. It's part of the package. If you're going to fight, you're going to get hit. Once you're hitting someone, especially at heavyweight, with that type of force, that type of strength, you can cause damage. Be it be cuts, could be injury, could it be, flash knockdown. There's always that element of risk. And I think Ngannou is banking on that element of being fast, being explosive, hitting hard and doing all these things. But you've got to look at the percentage of what's the chances of that happening against an elite boxer. I have a scenario where I believe Ngannou has, because Ngannou could capitalize on certain things. But again, these are small things. These are not large things.
So, yeah, let me be perfectly honest. So like the Izzy Strickland fight. So I said the best way for me to describe the chances that I thought Strickland would win was that there was a coin. On one side it says Izzy wins, on the other side it says Izzy wins, and then the rim around the edge says Strickland wins. And you can flip that coin, but you need it to land on its edge. With Ngannou and Fury, I don't think the odds are quite as big as that. It's more like a dice. Like, we know there's a
6 sides to a dice.
Yeah.
And you're saying it's 5 to 1 or 4 to 2.
Yeah. We know there's a possibility. There's a reason why the term puncher's chance exists. The more power you have, the more of a puncher's chance you'll have, because it can be a leveler. Now, Fury should be able to adapt to that in real time.
Mhm.
He should be, that's his world. He's more skilled, but we're tuning in for that dice roll
Yeah.
that just lands on that one occasion. And then how do you determine those odds? You're looking at physical attributes.
Yeah.
The trouble I think Ngannou's going to have is largely when he fights, he's only ever been really frustrated when he's being grappled.
Mhm.
So when his physicality is taken away from him, we've never seen someone jab him in the face.
Yeah.
Just constantly picking at him,
Yeah.
picking at him, picking at him, and being hard to hit. And that's where his reckless power could come in and win him the fight, or he could go night-night himself.
Yeah.
Like you said, these are heavyweights. They're not tickling each other in there.
Definitely not.
Right. The other thing is defense changes. Ngannou is used to using smaller gloves and picking holes in, in a wider range. When you've got those big gloves on, the target's smaller. Does it diminish power? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But it does change again.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the other aspects I was thinking is when they get close and they clinch, depending on the referee, because some allow it for a little while, Ngannou's not going to get tired there. And he'll know how to weigh on him in a way that potentially boxers don't weigh on other boxers, if that makes sense. Mechanically, he'll play with him a little bit to pull their head down and drain him out a little bit. And that's what makes this fun for me. It's just all these little technical bits.
I can see Fury could fight very effectively with the inside. We've seen him walk people down, Deontay Wilder. That was his since he's changed his style from his previous style with Ben Davison's to the Kronk style with Sugar Hill. He's fought a more Kronk style fighting. Kronk style is a style created by Emmanuel Stewart, a host of world champions, including one of my favourites, Tommy Hearns. That is about obviously staying tall, staying long, and landing those hard shots from the outside and coming in. And obviously, but it's an aggressive style of fighting. It's more of a power box style of fighting. It's not a laid back and relaxed style of fighting. And I think that style of fighting, in a funny way, plays into both people's advantages. And when I say in a funny way, you will say that it's smart for you to stay on the outside and pop a jab and box and play safe. By fighting aggressive and coming forward, you're giving Ngannou more of opportunities. However, as you said, with rolling that dice, his opportunities is only 1 out of 6 out of the 6 sides. Because what Fury could do with his hands is much more educated in that discipline.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And I think that's why it was a good move for Ngannou to work with someone like Mike Tyson, because you need to make those car crash incidents happen.
Yeah.
You don't want to be in Fury's range where he dictates how he moves into you and where he strikes. If he can crash into him, because the other thing, Fury's arms are ridiculously long, right? So everything, it's a really smart move to go with Tyson to get that range. And I was worried that Ngannou would be too big himself physically. I've actually seen a picture of him recently. Yeah. He's lean. Yeah. I don't think he's coming in at 265. I think he's going to come in quite light.
And when I mentioned earlier about ways that Ngannou could capitalize on certain things, one of it was Fury's conditioning.
He's a tubby boy.
Fury's never been body beautiful, but for a fight 6 weeks away at the press conference, he looked pretty round. I'm because he's not a body beautiful person, I wasn't expecting him to be in shape, but he's got a lot of weight to cut. Yeah, and that could be an issue.
There's no upper limit, I don't think.
There is no upper limit, but that condition is not fighting condition.
No. Do you think he's keeping the flap there to take some of that body shots? Maybe he's thinking extra padding. We see some fighters use it. I don't like it because I feel like if you're carrying non-functional weight, that's what saps your conditioning and stuff like that. But
so Fury's the best heavyweight in the world. Right.
Heavyweight boxer.
Yeah, you could, right, heavyweight boxer. Right. You could argue say Usyk. It's up to you. I don't mind. I'm not going to argue if you say Usyk, but he's the currently best heavyweight right now, in my belief. However, since the Wilder fight, look who Fury's fought. He's fought Dillian Whyte, which was a 4-round knockout, and then he fought his mate Derek Chisora in a friendly, easy, comfortable match. a fight is a fight, but this is the first time in 2+ years, 3 years, he's going to be under some heat in terms of someone that's actually trying to win.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually, because if there's any part of Fury that's underestimating this fight,
Yeah.
and you know, maybe he hasn't felt that real combat pressure for a little while, where he feels really in danger, and we know there's money here. You know, let's not play around. They'll say they'll go in a car park and fight.
Yeah.
They're not doing that. They want that big bag of cash. Now, I don't think that's Ngannou's mentality. This is his dream. This is what he's focused on. He's always wanted to be a boxer. He's always wanted to taste that. And he's had his eyes on Fury, I think, a lot longer than Fury's known about Ngannou.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. So the mentality might be different going into this match. And, you know, it's hard to understand where Fury is in any given moment anyway. You don't know if he's super stable, if he's in one of his manic moments. You know, he's charismatic. He makes lots of weird movements and stuff like that. But he might be turning up thinking, well, of course, I'm just going to play around, do with this guy whatever I want, and make that misstep.
Yeah.
Ngannou is looking to hurt him, and he wants to be the best fighter in the world. That's what he wants.
Yes.
Like, to give up a belt, not many fighters, it's not just giving up a belt, not many fighters walk away from the premier organisation. In the press conference, they didn't even call it MMA. They called it UFC, right? Yeah. Very few things do.
They're trying to bank on the branding of the UFC to help with the promotion.
Yeah, and to be honest, I also think there's some lacking in understanding. MMA fighter striking is not the same as boxing, but it doesn't mean it's not technical, and it doesn't mean they don't think about it. Yeah, their coaches are not going to be sitting there saying, "Oh, we'll just go in and throw some shots." They're going to look for things, you know. They're going to use a jab to not really connect to set up another shot. Yeah. You know, they're going to play around. It's not. The trouble with MMA is Jake Paul has ruined the idea that people can't strike. The other thing is you can't box in MMA.
I can't believe we mentioned Jake Paul twice in this video.
I know, but he's had such a disruptive
impact.
Yeah. And the reverse is true. Like you get a boxer in MMA, there's just some things you can't do. You can't stand side on. A leg kick hurts. I don't care what anyone says. Yeah, it's not going to knock you out.
Yeah, but it's going to debilitate you down the line.
And if you're using your front foot to transfer power, doesn't work because now your leg doesn't move. Your footwork dissipates. If you overreach, you're going to get taken down. Every new rule, every environment, everything changes the skill set slightly. Yeah. So if you look at an MMA fighter and think, well, it doesn't look like a boxer, therefore it's not technical striking, then you're missing what they're doing. There's other reasons. Yeah. Equally, if you take that same skill set and put it in a boxing, if you don't readjust, you're going to get cleaned up. Yeah. Like, there's no doubt about it. Kickboxers don't like fighting boxers. Yeah. Boxing. Yeah. And, you know, they've only got one other attribute that they're using, primarily is their legs. Yeah. So
I would tend to say that Ngannou has been planning for this and training for boxing, not with Tyson maybe, for the past 3 to 4 years.
He's been boxing since he got to France.
Yeah, because when he fought Cyril Gane, which was maybe 18 months ago.
It might be a bit longer than that.
Maybe a bit longer than that. He was inactive with an injury for maybe a year before that. And the talk is that was kind of like negotiation, delayed tactics, that he wasn't really injured as bad as it seemed. He's going to have been training for this for 4 years.
Easily. And so I actually asked this question to Dan Hardy about the discipline that he would need. Because again, Ngannou can be a bit wild. Yeah. And he said, his opinion was, this is the best version of Ngannou to take this opportunity now. So that's what I'm saying. There is a bit of a gap. Like, so when he got to France, when he was young, I think he was early 20s, he started boxing. That's his first love. He's always been a boxer, or always loved boxing. The bit that always plays in the back of my mind is, if a gym sees a 6'5" monster that can knock people out, they don't offer them an MMA fight.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
They're off your boxing match.
yeah, they're getting you in the circuit quickly, especially if you're already mature.
So the question is, why do they put him in MMA?
Right. That's the bit for me. There's like,
Very
if
good point.
you go way back,
Yeah.
he needed money, and you're gonna get, a quick €100 in an MMA match.
Maybe he's lacking something that we haven't seen yet because he hasn't been put in the environment to see it.
But then, if he stood no hope, I just don't see Mike Tyson training him, if you know what I mean.
We'll get to the predictions shortly. Let's move on from the fighters and the fight. Let's look at the uproar. Boxing fans, who I'm one of the biggest ones you ever meet. I understand the uproar, and I agree with everyone that's saying this fight should not be happening when you've got a undisputed fight with Usyk waiting there, and the general consensus is that Fury is why that fight is not happening, not Usyk. You've got a champion that's undefeated and a list of contenders out there. If you know their names, if you don't know their names, go check the top 10. There's people that you can fight, which is not named Derek Chisora, which is not named Dillian White. There's legit guys out there, but you're fighting the MMA guy that's never boxed. I understand why boxing fans are upset.
Fix your sport, gentlemen. No, come on.
Boxing has a problem. Boxing has a
major problem.
Boxing has its problems, but it doesn't mean that a champion could just walk out and go fight somewhere else. All right then, so let me ask you a question.
Please do.
Before MMA, you was a boxing fan.
Yep.
You grew up on boxing like all of us. Who was one of your favourite boxers back in the day?
For me, Mike Tyson was that man. It depends how far you want to go back.
So if we go with Mike Tyson, can you imagine if before Buster Douglas, remember Buster Douglas was going to be set up for Holyfield, which was going to be the big fight. If Mike Tyson said, I'm not fighting Buster Douglas or Holyfield, I'm going to fight the older Gracie. Yeah. The bigger one. What would you have said?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Sort your life out.
Yeah, that's the point where and you can't. Boxing has its problems, but you just can't go from one sport to another sport. You wouldn't get a top athlete in any other sport who's at the pinnacle walking out the front door into another sport. It's a travesty.
Yeah. So, like, I agree with you and I understand, but this is the reason why I fell out of love with boxing. Okay. So first we lost early storylines. So we used to be able to watch these fighters come up.
Yeah.
That went away.
On domestic TV.
Yeah. That went away. We can't watch that anymore.
Yeah.
You have to wait for someone to tell you that this guy's a good fighter and you're gonna watch it. Then it would be, but I'm a champion of this promotion and I want to fight this guy, but you can't do that because this person won't talk to this person or this money doesn't go this way.
Yeah.
And what's happened is money has dominated the sport.
Yeah.
And it's fractured it. So that you've reached a situation where fighters have too much power and they can demand what they want and they can walk away from the sport. Now, let's go back 20 years, that fight would have been ostracized.
Yeah.
Like, everyone would have come out. Don King rigs the game. Now it's an entertainment business, gentlemen, and money talks. And the people waiting in line, you can say they're being denied their opportunity to fight the best and get a belt and test themselves. But equally, he's the king of the hill right now, and he can do what he wants, and the sport's allowing him.
Yeah. Again, because the sport is fractured, that's what's allowed it to happen, but it doesn't mean it's right.
No,
and the onus is on the champion. For me, the onus is on the champion to make the fight with the challengers. Everyone's fighting to get in those top 10 rankings, to get mandatory positions, to get wherever you want to be, to get a title shot. Now, like I said, negotiations is part of any sport, especially combat sports. Fury's allowed this to happen. Let's be honest, this fight would not happen without Fury. If you look at reported paychecks, Fury's running the show. Yeah, this is Fury's show with Ngannou coming in making a massive payday. Don't get me wrong, but this is Fury's option. Was Fury's option.
Yeah,
Ngannou was knocking the door, and Fury said, "Come, walk right in." He didn't have to.
What belt does Fury hold?
WBC.
Strip him.
That is a big conversation going on right now from a lot of people asking. He should be stripped.
Yeah,
but that's why boxing fans hate it. Why do you feel MMA fans are supporting it?
So, why do I feel like they're supporting it? I think, first of all, I wouldn't say all MMA fans. So I break MMA fans up into a couple of camps. So you've got people that just love the sport right across the board, right? And then you've kind of got a UFC-centric MMA fan. And if you've come up learning about MMA through a modern day UFC lens, you're used to an entertainment stroke fight business, right? Dana White very much created scenarios that we ended up accepting, like CM Punk, for example, right? It's because there's an entertainment element to it. You know, he hijacked the internet. He knew how to leverage the UFC using social media and things like that. So, and also, it's not you've had to watch it evolve over time. It's new. This isn't 150 years of a sport that has lineage and prestige going right back. The UFC is 30 years old.
Yeah.
What does a good MMA fighter look like? Pick one.
Yeah.
Like, they're all different. It's so...
The sport hasn't evolved fully into where it will be.
There's no one classic style,
Yeah.
right? You need a bit of everything, and it's like that kind of Bruce Lee thing. You take what's useful, remove what's useless, and that's your own.
At one time, John Jones was like, Anderson Silva was like, oh my gosh, that's the blueprint. And then John Jones came along, and then Mighty Mouse came along. It's like it keeps evolving still. It hasn't reached a point where it has a defined style.
No, there isn't. There's no ideal body type.
Yeah.
There's no ideal style. You need some specific things and how you connect them together. So you can see weird mismatches in UFC all the time just because the styles are so different. Like, you can have someone running through a division, like our big upset. Izzy is by far one of the best technical kickboxers in mixed martial arts, and in kickboxing. And a weird, unorthodox style closed him down. So we're used to seeing...
1-2.
Yeah.
A classic 1-2.
We're used to seeing this. So then it's a bit like... There's also some people there that are supporting Ngannou. So it's not necessarily mixed martial arts, because people like to see Dana squirm a little bit. Yeah. And you've got to give him credit. He didn't allow this to happen because he knew what it would do to the UFC brand. He wasn't going to ruin that. But we're just used to seeing these things. Do you know what I mean? Okay. So, and also, we've had a few old MMA fighters get turned up. It's like, well, let's see what happens when someone that's a bit sharp goes in there. I mean, we're desperate for boxers to come the other way, but I don't think we'll see it.
I don't think we will, because I said I'm a firm believer that as much as I could watch both sports and understand both sports and appreciate both sports, I understand they're separate sports. They're different sports. They have a different skill set. I'm not the type of guy who's going to say, oh yeah, the boxer is always going to win. Oh yeah, I mean, they're different sports.
Yeah, of course.
They're different sports. So if there should be no person in the world from another sport who should ever go into another person's sport and win. A pool person should have to beat a snooker player. And a snooker player should have to beat a pool person. And even though it has exactly the same skill set in terms of a cue and the balls and X, Y, Z, there's a different strategy and a different way you play the game. And it shouldn't, they're similar, but they're different.
Yeah.
Yeah? That's why you don't see world-class snooker players playing pool. It's different.
Yeah, you do get crossovers occasionally.
Yeah. But you get my point.
I think the one thing that's similar about the two sports is the mentality.
Yeah.
Right? You've got to be willing to go in there.
Yeah.
And
the fight mentality,
Yeah. And that's always that kind of, how can I put it? That's the bit that changes skills, right? What's that old saying? It's like, it's not the size of the dog in the fight.
Right, the fight and the dog.
We've seen less technical fighters just be more determined to win.
Yeah.
Right? So there's always that element, and there's always that chance. But yeah, They're different sports, and it's that kind of Swiss Army knife analogy. Just because there's a knife on it, doesn't mean it's the same.
Yeah.
And I think, like I said, MMA fans are probably just getting a bit bored of it all going one way. And, you know, beating Nate Diaz doesn't really mean anything. He's an old guy. Vitor Belfort, who didn't he have a boxing match?
Oh, with Evander Holyfield. Yeah.
You know,
this is what I'm trying to say. These fights are not real fights. They're not. What we mean, the crossover MMA fights we have, there's not been many of them. If there's been 30, one of them's been half legitimate. All the other ones are not legitimate fights. Yeah, so the one that was legitimate would have been Floyd Mayweather, Conor McGregor. Yeah, and even at that point, Floyd was retired, and Conor was no longer he was still an entity, but it was after the after Diaz lost? Was it before? I can't remember now.
I think it was after the Eddie Alvarez fight, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that. But you get my point. It's just different. Like, it's legit, but it's not legit because it's still an element which doesn't really tally up.
There was just the different weights as well.
Yeah, but you get my point. It's always wrong. So this is the only one that comes across as the most right on the tick box sheet.
I think the other thing is, because your question about why MMA fans keeps ticking away. MMA's been the underdog in the fight scene for a long time.
Just puts them on the main page.
They've fought for licenses across the world. It's been seen as a sort of dirty sport, kind of background guard. I think the idea of the underdog is innate in that fan base. Yeah. So Francis is the underdog.
Yeah.
But let's not play the game. Like, he's the underdog, and there's something special about that. I think that's what's gripping. Whether you're going to watch it because you hate it, or you're going to watch it because you're interested, or watch it because you're in love with it, we're all watching it.
Yeah. What is this event to you? Well, I've called it an event. Is it a fight? Is it an event? When I say an event, I don't mean it in a derogatory way. An event could be something like, I want to see it because it's interesting. Or it could be a mismatch and I'm watching it for a car crash. So an event could mean two different things. Or is it a travesty? Because like I said, depending on who you speak to, MMA fans or boxing fans, some think it's a real fight, some think it's an event, and some think it's a travesty. What do you think?
Right, you can't say it's not a real fight. Because when two people step in any arena and start hitting each other, that's a fight. Is it the kind of traditional fight with, all the promotion that goes around it? No. Is there a bit of a spectacle element in it? Yeah. And I really think I don't think it's one or the other. It just depends on which side you're looking at it. So for me, it's just an opportunity to see something.
Yeah.
Right? Is it, if Ngannou wins, does he become a boxer?
No,
I don't think he does. I think it goes back to MML. He signed for the PFL. So in that aspect, it's an event.
Yeah.
Because it's a one-off thing.
Yeah. I'm calling it an event. I think this press conference, they put together a big press conference, the whole red carpet and all the little bits of, because they're trying to make it special. And I think we're going to see a special event, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity where you got two of the best of the respective divisions fighting in a fight where the rule set and the skill set is clearly stacked up in one person's favor. But because this other person is actually credible in a fighting art, because this person is still active, not retired, and has a massive punch, it makes it, okay then, I'll watch that. I can't call it a legitimate boxing match. I can't call it a legitimate MMA match. I can't call it a fight because I don't think the skill sets tally up well enough to call it a fight. It's an event where you're watching it because it is an event. It's something. It's like when I watched Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock together at the O2. It's an event. When you're going to see Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock together, it's an event. Was it the best comedy show I went to in my life? No, it wasn't the best comedy show I went to in my life. But it was mostly the best event I went to for a comedy show. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. Does your definition of an event change if the outcome you're predicting doesn't happen?
It will still be an event where something shocking happened. If what you're alluding to was to happen. If the stars fell down,
We roll that dice.
Yeah, if the stars fell down, then
Yeah.
something happened. Talking about what I think is going to happen, what's the prediction for you?
It would be...
Before you ask that question, no sugarcoating. We've got to get this out there. Full prediction.
Right. As much as I would love to paint a scenario where I think Ngannou wins, and can I see possibilities? Yes. Are they very tiny possibilities? Yeah. There should be zero chance. There should be zero chance. Fury, it's his discipline. He's the best at it. He's awkward for people who are also the best at it. There shouldn't be any opportunity. So my prediction, unfortunately, would be that Fury wins this. Now, if I'm going to pick the other side and just play devil's advocate, I'm going to say he might get shocked by how hard he hits. He may be surprised at the skill level.
Yeah.
And if Fury's not on point, I don't think it's outside the realms of possibility that he gets hurt.
Yeah.
He might still win, but he's not waking up in the morning feeling like I just made a bag for nothing.
Yeah.
So I like, as much as I would love to go in there and say, I just don't see it. But why are we watching it? For that one opportunity, that one spectacular moment.
We're watching it because it's an event.
Yeah.
That's why we're watching it. My prediction for the fight is very, very simple. Fury, naturally, his style is not an aggressive style. He can fight aggressive. He likes to fight aggressive, but he doesn't come out round one charging across the ring. He stands his ground, starts using his jab. And he'll do that, and he'll be very relaxed, I believe, because he doesn't see Ngannou as the threat he is, or the threat he could be. And the fight will stay that way until Ngannou hits Fury with his first significant shot. If that shot is a good shot to the body or to the head, and Fury feels it and goes, "Ooh, this guy could whack a bit," Fury will end the show at that time. That could be in the first round, could be in the third round, it could be in the sixth round, it could be in the 12th round. But once Fury feels there's a threat of power or something that, guess what, I don't have to do this if I don't want to, he ends the fight. Okay. And he stops Ngannou. And stoppage could be two things. It could be referee counts you out, referee stops you on the ropes, or you get knocked down, you get up, and the rest of you can't continue.
Do you think
this is not going 12 rounds?
You don't think?
It's not going 12 rounds.
You don't? Do you think he's going to use some of these his tricks? You know, knuckles being further down the glove.
Those ghost stories from Deontay Wilder have no value. Yeah. Here's what. Let's be honest. We're both hardcore fans of our respective sports. But as you said, you appreciate boxing. I appreciate MMA. Real fighters don't carry fighters.
No.
When there's a threat, you end it. You do not carry a fighter. Yeah? The only few people I've ever seen carry fighters are the ultimate greats. Roy Jones carried a couple fights because the end fights, he carried it on a bit. You know what I mean? Ali won a fight without taking a punch in round 3 or round 4 against Cleveland Williams. You don't do that. You know what I'm trying to say? These are like rare occasions. Real fighters like that. Real fighters don't carry fights. And I reckon once Fury sees a threat or a problem, he ends the fight that second.
Okay, here's another scenario. Ngannou does hurt him, doesn't win the fight, but there's enough press to take the shine off Fury. Does Fury, because he said he'll go in a cage, does he transition the other way and find out what it's like that? And if he doesn't, does it diminish his stock if it's not like you say?
Fury said he'll fight Joshua for free. Fury said he'll fight Usyk and take a high bunch of money and pay this and pay that. Fury says a lot of shit things that never ever happen. So
he's a crazy boy.
Yeah. So what? So Fury said he fights a guy in the cage. Yeah. So what? Fury says a lot of shit things. I don't think Fury's ever said. All the things Fury said in his life in terms of boxing, he's only ever done 5 of them.
But does it?
That's the point.
So, but if Ngannou hurts him, but Fury still wins, does it diminish Fury? Bearing in mind, this is like his first pro boxing match, event.
Fury weighed for the first Deontay Wilder fight, I think it was 273. Yeah? If he weighs around that weight, which we know he fights effective at, and Ngannou was to hurt him and make Fury look bad, but Fury still won, I would say that's a legit thumbs up for Ngannou. Fury does not weigh 273 right now. He does not weigh 273. If Fury comes in 280, 290, 300 pounds, whatever it is, and Ngannou hurts him, I don't think it has much impact because you're saying Fury did not prepare for it. But Fury comes in his typical fighting shape, not body beautiful, but at a weight class much more around that 270 mark or under, and Ngannou hurts him, then it has validity. Without that, I don't see it.
Okay, but we're agreeing Fury's taking the biggest risk here. So he is the gatekeeper.
By far, Fury's taking by far because Ngannou is in a win-win situation. If he gets knocked out in the first round, all he's got to say is, that's the best heavyweight in the world. Boxing, I don't box.
Yeah.
We don't have to say it, I think. He has to say it. It's clearly obvious. Ngannou can't lose. What's Ngannou's highest pay pack in the UFC?
It's hard to get those numbers.
Is it $500,000?
No, I think he probably pushed $1 million. Dana come out and said that he would give him $8 million, but when Dana talks as much shit as Fury, so
there we go.
He's probably made $1 million and some bits.
$1 million and some bits, yeah. He's getting $10 million for this fight minimum, yeah. When they do all the pay-per-views and all the T-shirts and all the concessions and all the other bits and bobs, he's made a killing. Yeah, let's not be fooled by what this is. Now I'm trying to say this is a massive opportunity for Ngannou, yeah, and a payday for Fury. And this is why boxing fans are going backwards now. Why boxing fans are upset with Fury because since you fought Wilder 4 years ago, what the hell have you done?
Well, he's made a ton of money.
Yeah, that's the part of prize fighting. But in terms of your sport, the king of the hill, this should not be happening.
Yeah, but he's got that linear heavyweight champ, right?
Yeah.
That's his narrative. He doesn't need all the belts. He's got all the money. He, like you say, he controls the access. He's now bigger than the sport, right? But the sport has allowed that. They've allowed it.
He's not bigger than the sport, but the sports setup has allowed boxers to take control and dictate the terms of it, which in theory is not a bad thing when it's done right because the fighters are putting themselves at risk. But what you're getting now is that fighters won't fight or do anything unless they're getting extortionate paydays, which suits it. And Fury's chosen the biggest payday available right now for him because of this crossover.
One last question. If you're a fighter on that card, what does that mean for you? Is this the spotlight? Because you've got to remember, the rest of the card is boxers. And to be honest with you, how many people are going to know that card top to bottom?
I will.
Yeah, you will. You will. But no, seriously.
No, but jokes aside, the question you have is, how big is it for the undercard?
Yeah,
I'll tell you how big it's for the undercard. This will be the biggest domestic UK pay-per-view since before COVID.
So are those boxers on the undercard up in arms like the fans?
No. They're getting coverage.
So the boxers are bigger than the sport.
Yeah. And
I got him.
good point. They're not bigger than the sport, but they're going to benefit from the shine of this event.
Yeah, they're going to sell themselves.
Keywords, event, not fight. I'll say this as well, is that Ngannou had a crossover audience with the UFC. And his pay-per-view's done reasonably well in the UFC. I expect this to be a massive hit internationally as well, not just in the UK. A massive hit which could potentially hurt both sports, because this is not going to be what people want it to be.
Yeah.
The people that don't know the sport get so excited.
Yeah. Like
people that know the sport understand what we're watching.
Look, don't get me wrong, I am sick of MMA fighters calling out boxers.
Yeah.
Especially when they get a belt, because they know there's money at the end of it. I'm like, for me...
Didn't Sean O'Malley call out Gervonta Davis?
Yeah.
Gervonta Davis is a top 10 pound for pound type boxer. What is Sean O'Malley thinking?
And
cash.
And what he would do to that skinny body.
Yeah.
Like, and again, like, it's not to say the reverse is true.
Yeah.
Like, a spinning hook kick, you have to learn to develop a guard for that.
And this is what I've said all the time, and we spoke about it before. You have to respect each sport. They're different sports. They have a different skill set. Yes, they're all fighting. Yeah, this is not a street fight. This is not WWE.
No.
This is MMA fighters in an MMA cage, boxers in a boxing ring. That is it. There's no crossover. And once you understand that, you can enjoy both sports, because they're not competing with each other. The target audience of boxing and MMA is different now.
Oh yeah, dramatically.
The target, you know what I'm trying to say? If you watch, it's different now. So yeah, they're not competing.
And to be fair, like, you have to learn to love your sport for its entirety, right? So if you're an MMA guy starting to watch boxing because you've never watched it before, you're not going to fully appreciate everything because you don't know it yet. Yeah. The subtleties of footwork, the changes of angles, they're different in different sports. And equally, if you're a boxing guy, you're like, why are these two people just laying on the ground? Like, there's so much technical knowledge that takes time to sort of learn and appreciate. And it's really easy to sort of disregard. It'd be easy for me to say, look, just kick his leg. Yeah. Just take him down. Yeah. Makes sense. But in the sport, there's so much to appreciate, and just take the time to put a bit of critical eye. If you're a boxing fan, watch a bit of MMA, you know. Don't look at it and go, that's not how you should throw a hook.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That's not what it is.
Yeah.
The hook is effective in its sport.
It's not boxing, it's striking.
Yeah, exactly that. A great example of that is Khabib throws like a shovel hook, knuckles down using his shoulder. Yeah. No one's going to teach you to punch like that. But it's not people act like it. But it's just applicable to the sport. You try and do that to a boxer, your face is going to hurt. Yeah. It's just, that's it. There's no ifs, buts and maybes.
All right then. We've got predictions.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, Colin, 4 Ounce Insights. Find him on YouTube. 4 Ounce Insights. New to YouTube, but great knowledge, great guy. And for guys on 4 Ounce Insights, Ryan, Old Lion Boxing, formerly Box Talk.
There isn't anyone else I go to for boxing stuff. Like, there's so much knowledge here. Yeah, I know he's a bit irritating at times. But no, honestly, like, I even watch his videos and I speak to him all the time. So take the time, delve in. There's lots to learn.
And the same thing, when it comes to MMA, this is the go-to guy. So, cool. Great video.
Yeah, we're going to do it again, but
definitely.
Hopefully not over some event.
No, not over event. We've definitely got some plans. And when I do my table show, you'll be on one of those tables soon, mate.
You got a name yet? Still working on it.
Still kind of got the name. Got the name, but I'm keeping it close to heart right now.
Cool.
All right then. Thanks for watching. Enjoy, share, like, and subscribe.
And we'll catch you all next time. Take care.